So I'm going to show you a map of all these projects. There's a link to the presentation. So this is a map of the 2004 sales tax bonded projects. And I want to point out something here on the next slide. I'll get to in the next slide. So Johns Island, as you can see, I added a couple comments here. Not much for Johns Island. They did a little bit for the Northern Pitchfork, and I think some restriping on Maybank, and that's really about it from the 2004 sales tax. And all the other projects around the county, you can see there. So some on James Island, some on Peninsula, West Ashley, things like that. Here's a list of the projects. These lines on the top show you when the project started and when it completed. The green lines, the green and orange line here on the bottom, the green line is the revenue collected over time as the tax was being collected, the sales tax. And the yellow line or orange line is the money spent as the projects were started. So very parallel lines for the most part. Tax comes in, money is spent. And you can see these projects in 2004, sales tax started almost right away. By 2006, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 projects started, and then the other ones trickled on behind it. That's important to note because in the 2016 sales tax, and the reason, by the way, so the reason that happened, was allowed to happen, is because when the sales tax started, of course, they didn't have all this revenue. They only had this revenue down here in the bottom left, just a 25 million or so. So they borrowed money against future sales tax revenue to be able to start all these projects as quickly as possible. They did not do that in the 2016 sales tax. Okay, here's the 2016 sales tax. Again, not much for Johns Island, except for Main Road Segment A. That's a huge, huge project, very, very important. We're happy that's getting done. But other than that, nothing on Johns Island. You can see the projects around Charleston County that were on there. So let's just focus on the one project that affects Johns Island directly, and that's the Main Road Segment A. A lot of people are frustrated because it took so long for that to start. And here's why. So unlike the 2004 sales tax, the 2016 sales tax, they decided not to bond or borrow the money ahead of time. The intent was to be fiscally responsible. They didn't anticipate the inflation of 2021 through 2023, and it ended up backfiring. So they were getting the revenue, but they didn't borrow money against this revenue, so they waited for enough money to come in, and then they did the Glen McConnell Parkway project 6 years after the sales tax started, and they didn't get to the Main Road Segment A project until 2025, and it won't be done until 2028. So 12 years after the sales tax passed or started will be when our project on Johns Island is complete. That's frustrating for a lot of people, and this is the main reason why. It's because they decided to not borrow the money from the sales tax in advance. They waited for it to trickle in. This didn't work out well. You can never predict what the economy is going to be like in the future. And with it, there's always inflation of some kind, even if it's 2% or, unfortunately, like in recent years, it was 9%. And with infrastructure materials, it's even way higher. But inflation almost always goes up every year. We almost never have deflation. So they decided that they're going to try to bond the money or borrow the money this time to start projects faster. So that's really important because these are a couple of the main issues that people have complained about the previous sales taxes. Where did the money go? Why do projects take so long? Things like that.